Hey, hello, this is Sean with the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Abuse with another episode. We are in the midst of the series, the 6 human needs that we all need to fulfill. Not one, but all if you want to have, a rich and satisfying life. Today we're talking about, growth, and personal growth is something that is a need that we all have, but it's an often very suppressed need. If you look at a lot of people, once they, finish their formal education, they got a job, some people are very active and are looking for, to improve their skill and trait, which is good, which is part of the personal growth. That is definitely an area where a lot of companies, of course, focusing on the benefit if you hone your skills, if you learn more, and of course they know how to play that well if you're ambitious, and I've been there myself, so nothing wrong with that. So personal growth, often seen as only development in a career, but personal growth actually has a little bit more factors if you want to do that in a way that it actually helps you and stay with you for a longer time. So yeah, career is definitely one of them. Often if it comes to personal development, and that's just because the way we are taught is knowledge. We think, if I read a lot, I do a lot of personal development. Now, I'm not against reading. After all, I am a writer and I love books, but I know that knowledge alone is actually pretty much useless in a sense, because we used to say, knowledge is power, but it's actually application of knowledge that is power. So only knowing things, which is a good start, but you need to know how to apply that. So if you think about the self-help books, there are thousands and thousands and probably millions of books written in that area. I had the honor to write a book in the self-help section myself. So I thought, what is there to add? But well, anyhow, I published it. But what I want to say in my book, and it's in so many other self-help books, there are a lot of tips, but we often only take it as knowledge to us. We don't do anything with it. And at some point in time, reading all these self-help books, I was thinking like, what? It doesn't matter if I read another one more if I don't do anything with it. If I would have just stopped with the first one and actually really apply what was suggested, things might have been different, right? So I wrote my book in a way, and hopefully it stimulated people to read the book, to do something with it. Now, some of my readers actually they call it feels more like a workbook. Well, I think that's a compliment then in that case. Self-development. So what are the other areas you need to develop? Can you self-develop? Can you develop yourself in? Thank you very much. Right? It's of course your skills, right? And it doesn't always have to be something really big, So I like to cook. And I've always loved to cook, not professionally, just for home cooking and stuff like that. And definitely if there are friends coming over, doing a little party or something like that. So I love to cook. And there's one thing that I noticed. I met a family and they love to eat as well. But I just noticed that, some of these younger people in the family, they just kind of lack of very basic cooking skills. Now, like, even, what's the easiest way to, get rid of the peel of a garlic? I'm I'm not making this up at all. I'm just saying like, hey, maybe there are a couple of skills that are just really nice to have. And I think, okay, but nowadays, is that necessary, Sean? Well, maybe. I think if you have some basic cooking skills, it's a little bit easier also to add healthy nutrition to your lifestyle. See how these things can be connected. So you don't have to look for really complicated stuff to say, hey, I want to do some self-development. So skills is, we talked about knowledge, yeah, increase your knowledge and also apply your knowledge. Then we talked about skills, yeah, could be any skills. I mean, I don't feel very much to take on a skill in which I have no interest whatsoever. So I don't like mechanics, so I have no interest in how to repair a car, if it comes to those kind of things. But some basic things about a car is not, if you drive a car, it's not a bad thing to have, right? I think you agree with me with that. Cooking, I'm not saying you have to be a culinary master, but to know some basic skills in cooking is definitely something that you need to do. Now, a third thing is social skills, right? Times have changed dramatically, and at least from the time that I was born, where we had no TV, we had no phone. There was a phone, of course. There was already a TV. We just didn't have one. There were no personal devices. We called them that at some point in time. But anyhow, social media, personal devices, actually has changed also the way we communicate with other people, right? So our social skills have changed a lot. Not always for the better, but because I'm probably guilty of that too, that you are on your phone when you are with company. I don't think that's a really good thing to do. So that's called a social skill, right? Some social skills are maybe not so necessary anymore. Writing an old-fashioned letter, I mean, it's maybe cute that you know how to do that, but it probably makes more sense if you know how to write an email. Does that make sense? So some of these things have changed, but so you need to hone your social skills, and the better you are in your social skills, by the way, the better it is for you professionally and privately. What other things? Spiritually. Yeah, spiritually there's a lot of growth too. You can grow spiritually, and one thing is, of course, I've been talking about these things, is keeping on a journal, like a gratitude journal or something like that. So that's a good way to work spiritually on your spiritual. You could go to church, obviously, if that's your thing, right? But thinking about the larger things in life helps you mentally. Is definitely an area of growth that you could do mentally and emotionally. They're not directly the same, but here again, if you do a lot of reflection, that's the best way actually how to learn yourself about your emotional skills and where you could grow. And what do I mean with that? I always say, it's really good to know all the emotions that you possibly can know of. The thing is, how do you react with them, right? You have to know what the appropriate reaction or expression is of your emotion, and that is something that needs to be taught and learned. Yeah, that is not something that automatically comes to you, not for most people actually. So that's a thing. And then last but not least, I mean, there was no particular order in this, is of course physically you need to be on a growth path, right? You need to keep your body healthy constantly, and if you let that slide, you do a different growth in your body, and that's not so healthy, right? Now why do I talk about these things? Because a lot of people say, yeah, but I do that. Well, I want you to write down all these areas, and these most important areas that you have, so spiritual, mental, emotional, your knowledge, your skills, and physical, and almost make a plan for it, right? Do something daily or weekly at least, so that you continue to grow in that area. And here's the remarkable thing, right? People who actually do that, and they research that, they actually declared that they are very happy people. People are just in pursuit of happiness, right? It's meaningless. What happiness are you looking then for? Richness, right? You probably get happiness if you are satisfied in these areas that I just called out, which is sub areas of your basic needs. Does that make sense? So that's why it's important. Growth is not always the first four basic needs people kind of understand. but the need of growth, to fulfill that, makes you a very fulfilling life, right? If you every day do something that makes you grow. One of the people that I know well said, I have a very simple principle. I just want to lead by example, and I just want to do every day. I want to just be a little bit better in something than I was the day before. It doesn't have to be big, just a little bit better. I do something that I didn't know before. Maybe that's in your cooking skills, maybe that's in the way you communicate, all these kind of things. All right, so this was Jean with the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Abuse. I think it was episode 106. Tomorrow we talk about the last of the 6 human needs that we all need to have. Maybe do one more to wrap it all up, but we'll see that. Hope to hear you tomorrow. Bye bye.